Okay, is everything back to normal? Okay, sorry about that. The tablet has got super sensitive buttons and it's driving me crazy because I can't even move the tablet without pushing a button. So that's what happened. I pushed a button and there. So I'm streaming on YouTube. I need to go and edit something for Instagram. So let me reset Instagram, I guess. Discard video. Discard. Okay. Press add. Live video. Art. Public. Next. Copy stream key. Go to edit on my Instagram on Restream. Paste the stream key. Where is it? I had it. Come on. Paste and save. There we go. Should work. Just give me a minute. Am I offline again? What's going on? Go live? Can I go live? Okay, streaming on YouTube, streaming on Instagram, streaming on Facebook, streaming on Twitch, and streaming on TikTok. Are we all back? Are we all back? I hate how sensitive some buttons are on my tablet. Like, I honestly just need to, like, put my finger on the bloody thing just very lightly and it just pushes on it. So, drives me crazy. So I'm glad some of it didn't get disconnected completely. But it just makes me a little bit frustrated. So we're going to add this really dark red. We're doing some circular motions, and this is for the shadows. Defining the shadows a little bit more. And I am using the app for reference for the placement, just to make sure I can get that really nice, the shapes more accurately. And again, I'm just doing circular motions. Very tight circular motions. I'm holding this closer to the tip of the pencil because I want a little bit more control over placement. There's such small details that I can just get away with using the tip of the pencil to get those in there nice. I'm just filling those in. And I'm going to fade them out a little bit. So I'm going to do even lighter pressure just right next to it and then slowly pull it outwards. And get those lighter shades of that color in certain places. So I like to go back and forth between looking at the Vinci Eye App and the reference on that's printed off here, because they both help me with different things. Okay, now we're going to take a dark green to go over like the really, really dark areas. Make it even darker in some areas. Not all of the red areas, just some of them. Okay, now I think we can zoom out all the way. So we can see the section as a whole to see if we can get things a little bit darker. Because we got the basics of the coloring down, we got the shapes down, we just need to darken them up. I see a lot of that dark red in his face in the shadows. So I'm gonna add that. Just light pressure and circular motions. Starting off with the really dark sections. I'm actually putting a little bit more of like a medium pressure to it. Just a little bit more pressure than I was when I first, like for the first few layers. But we are really going to start building up that shadows. And bringing in this really nice dark red kind of warms up the face a little bit. Makes it more alive than just those really dull gray and blue sections. But building it up with this really helps. Oh, and I'm not even live on Instagram. The videos are going, but the live isn't. Yeah, now I'm live on Instagram. Oopsies. It will disappear anyways on Instagram, but the whole video will be on YouTube. It will be reposted on YouTube. Little clips of the videos will be posted on TikTok and Facebook and one other place. Where is the other place? And YouTube. But the full videos are just going to be on YouTube. So I don't need to preserve the little flyaways on the forehead. We actually indented the paper so that it stays white. Well, it's not white. I actually put a little bit of yellow on it to help, because it's actually a yellow color. Those lines are they're bright yellow. So I just colored it with the yellow and then I indented the paper to preserve those little flyaways. It's a really interesting technique. I don't always use it, but I find it's probably one of the easiest ways to do it. I'm really trying to get all that dark red in every place that it needs to be, because that face is really pale compared to the reference, and I really need to get that color in a little bit better. So I have another drawing that has like the same kind of feel to it. It's of my daughter. This is my son. I have one of my daughter and she's blowing bubbles, and it's got the same childish, happy moment. And it's got very similar lighting, but they were in two different areas. Like, they're both outside, so that's probably why it's very similar in lighting. And I think they would look really nice together side by side, kind of like pink girl and blue boy. I'm referring to a painting, by the way. There's a couple of paintings that are called that. And then also my mom kind of did a reference of that too with me and my nephew. She painted me in pink and him in blue when we were first born. So it's kind of got an interesting family connection in that way, I guess. Not directly, but as it's starting to look closer to the reference. Are we getting there slowly? It's kind of got like a dark, well, kind of like a brown orange on his eyebrows. Barely has any eyebrows. They're so light, very blonde, so they just kind of blend into the skin. But they are there. Okay, now I'm gonna bring that dark red into the arms. Trying to build up the shadowing a little bit more too. I kind of want to try to stick to the same colors throughout, building up the shading a little bit more throughout the entire section of skin. So it looks like it's part of the same person. The hands are fairly, like the arms are fairly close enough to being perfectly the right colors here. So I did kind of get off out of the line here. This method of picking up this little mark that I made, this method is only really good for Faber-Castell polychromos. I don't know why, like it's a, yeah, these ones just somehow erase a little bit here. It doesn't fully pick it up, especially if it's a darker color, but it does pick it up enough that when you go over it, it will just disappear. I'm just really focusing on the printed reference in comparison. But placing down all that stuff that I placed down with the app really does help. But I find that you can actually see a little bit more detail when you look directly at the printed reference. Let's bring that red in here. There's even a darker red. I might as well go in there with the darker red too after I've done this one. I am a extreme perfectionist, so any tools that I can use to help me get it exactly or very close to exactly, I am going to use. Sorry for the background noise. I need some nice cool air in here. For some reason it gets super warm in this room. And it's probably going to get worse in the summer. There we go. I'm going to use that even darker red in some areas. Is that starting to look closer to the original? So there's this really dark red. Is that the darkest one I have? I think so. Okay, I'm just gonna check to see what the heck's going on. It's super busy. We're also going to work on his lips too to get them slightly darker as well. For the smaller sections, I use the tip of the pencil, and for the larger sections, I use the side of the pencil. I think I might go over in very small places some of that green. Especially in the really, really dark sections. Just a little bit of green. Not a whole bunch. Because green and red are opposites on the color wheel. So together they kind of make each other a little darker. It's part of color theory. I'm also going to do that with the eyelashes. I think I might need to put a little bit of red with the eyelashes too. Red and green. Let's go into using a pink, a dark, well, you can use coral. So we're just slowly building it up until it matches the same shade. So I'm only putting this where I see it and then fading it out away from the really obvious places by doing even lighter pressure. So we're kind of working from light to dark. I mean, dark to light, just to really get those shadows. And we're also trying to unify the arms and the face, make them look like they're part of the same person. Getting closer. Now there's a spot that I feel like still needs to be darker. I'm going to take that dark red again, because as I'm looking at it, I see that it's a little darker in here. And just light pressure and circular motions. Not super dark, just a little bit. And then right in here it needs to be darker too. Let's go in using the dark tan. Light pressure and circular motions. We are putting a little bit more pressure than we were originally because we want to build that color up real good. And then I'm using the side of the pencil for the bigger areas that I'm trying to fill in. It still needs to be quite a bit darker, but I think it might just naturally happen when I varnish it. So I'm putting some medium pressure down just to really build the shades up a little bit. Getting the tone, not the tone, what is it? I don't know what to call it. I need to do some research on what proper words for certain things in the art world. It's not perfect, but I think I'm satisfied with it for the most part. So what we're gonna do, there's many different methods of blending with pencil. Most importantly is how you put down the pencil in the first place. So blending would be going from a harder pressure to a lighter pressure as you go across to change colors and shades and stuff. So that is the most important. The other, like as addition to doing that and being good at that, is you can use a colorless pencil. This one is from Prismacolor, although I'm not using Prismacolor. I find this works really well for pushing and breaking down those colors and really pushing it into the paper and keeping it really vivid. You can use a white pencil. So you're like, ooh, a white pencil. Now it makes sense why there's even a white pencil in the first place. You can use a white pencil to blend, which is similar to this, but the downfall to using a white pencil is that it makes it softer. It's not as vivid. Or you can use the lightest version of the color in that area. It'll keep it nice and vivid, but it will darken up the colors too. You can use a colorless blending marker that's made for pencils. You do have to clean them after each color, so that could be a little bit of a pain. You can also look up certain solutions for different pencils. The reason why you need to do research on that is because Prismacolor is wax-based and Polychromos is oil-based, and so that means a different solution will help break down that particular pencil, and it gives it more of like a watercolor look to it when you're using that. Or you can use hand sanitizer and a Q-tip, which should be already in your house, especially after the lockdown. We should have a lot of hand sanitizer. I recommend like the liquid form of it, like watery form, not the gel form, but you could still use the gel form. You just have to make sure you really use a little bit of it. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to use the colorless pencil, and I'm just doing circular motions, really pushing that color in. We're doing firm pressure, but we're not getting to the point where we're digging into the paper. We don't want to make any indents. You can really see that color pop. You can really see it pop up now. So this is a magic tool. This is what really makes a huge difference. You see how that changed drastically? Now we're doing the whole face like that. Actually, I just remembered I need to add a little bit of like a soft orange where the eyebrow is before I start blending a little bit more. Just a little bit right where the eyebrow is. Okay, now let's go back to blending. So really push that color in. And then you also don't want to go all the way to the edges of this, because you we want to be able to kind of work with it a little bit more as we do the objects that are next to it. So nice firm pressure, but we're not indenting the paper at all. Not to the point where we're scratching it to bits. And if you want to keep a section defined, just go in the direction of those lines. But if it's a bigger area, just do some nice circular motions. I think I need to add a little bit more of a tan color right on the neck here. It's just a light tan. Okay. I need to sharpen my pencil a little bit. Especially for these really tiny details. So if you want to keep some defined lines, just go in the direction of those lines, and then for the more softer sections, like the entire skin, circular motions. We're really trying to get all of this blended, pushed into the paper. Get a nice solid look to it. Now some pencils will allow you to do a layer of white over top if you need to create some highlights. After the fact, after blending and stuff. But not all pencils will allow you to do that. Or you can use different types of pencils, like you can use the polychromos for the base, and then you can use Prismacolor over top for like highlights and stuff, or vice versa, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Like you can do Prismacolors for the base and then details with some darker colors with a Prismacolor for like fur and hair and stuff if you want. It's up to you. Do some research and see what you think might be best for you. Because each pencil set, especially the higher brand stuff, they all have their pros and cons. So do some research on that. And if you're new to using colored pencils, even if you start off with Crayola, you still can learn so much with it. You can still practice the techniques you need to know for blending and also for color theory. The only difference is how smooth it goes on, or what it's made out of, and it's really the only real differences. So you really see that color's popping right through. Look at that. And we're getting a nice solid color now. Filling in all those little white gaps. We're putting in quite a bit of pressure, not to the point where we're gouging the paper, just enough to push that right in. Look at that arm just pop out. It's a lot darker than his face, but I think it's because his face wasn't actually touching the sun for very long that summer. He had such long hair, long curly hair. It was beautiful. Absolutely loved it. But it was a pain to take care of because he does not like the hairbrush. It's kind of a balancing act for us. We kind of had to make a plan where he hated getting his hair cut, but he hated brushing his hair. The only way that we've been able to get him to get his hair cut is when he has been without devices for a very long time, like his tablet or Switch or whatever. And so we're out camping with no electronics, but partway through the camp, his aunt goes, "Hey, do you want to watch something on the tablet that I brought for my kids?" And then he'll sit still and let her cut his hair. So this only gets cut once a year, and it's starting to get long again. I feel like this arm is much more orange than the rest of his body. But oh well. Can't be perfect every single time. No matter how much of a perfectionist you are. I could go over it a little bit, maybe with some, let's see, what cancels out orange? We could do a little bit of blue over top of it, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Will I have the guts to play around with it more, or should I just call it good? I'm going to do a little test spot for this. I'm going to take a very light pink and put it over top and see if that helps. Can I put it over top? Looks like I can. To help balance out that orange. Really dark orange. So I can do a little bit of fixing, not a whole bunch, but it does look a little bit better than it was. And I have a feeling I'm going to have to do this for pretty much the hand too. I don't know. Got really yellow and really orange. And then I'm going to test this out, see if I can blend that in, push that into the paper, or does it just move it around? I don't know. Does that help? Maybe if I don't put too much pressure on it, it might be fine. Let's see. Some pencils will allow you to erase a little bit. This one is not doing too well right now. You can take that. It kind of pushed in some of that eraser in there. So there's little chunks of like this rubbery substance from the eraser. I'm just trying to scrape that off. That yellow's starting to fade, so I'm happy that it's not the entire arm. I'm happy it's not the entire arm, because that would have been a paint, or the hand, would have been paint fix. So some of the more of a line you do in the direction of those lines for shading, for pushing it in. And then for the rest of it, for the majority, do circular motions. I'm going to try to fix that color on his arm. That's very yellow-orange. I'm going to try to fix it by adding another layer of pink over top of it. See if that helps balance it. I'm going to go over it again with the blending pencil, not putting as much pressure as I was earlier because it might just scrape off that color I just put down. And it's not as smooth as I'd like it to be because I was mucking around with it too much. Stressful. Okay. Now let's do the same to the other arm. Let's see how this turns out. Is this going to be any better, or is it going to be worse? Or is it going to be the same as the last one? I don't know. We shall find out. What do you think? How is it looking? Think it looks all right? I don't know. Now, I'm pretty sure this is not going to work, but I'm going to try it anyways. And take that white pencil and just go around those little lines of like highlight right where some shadows are. There's a kind of like a balance where there's a dark shadow, there's like a light right next to it or really close to it. It's not really making much of a difference, unfortunately. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Not a whole bunch. I'm going to try to use it to kind of lighten up his arm a little bit because it's too dark. I'm putting quite a bit of firm pressure. This is helping. This is helping quite a bit. It's very minor, but it is there. And it's really smoothing out the color a little bit more using this white pencil. Almost getting a little bit of a oil pencil or an oil painting kind of look with this white. But it is making it a lot more softer. It's not so vivid, which in this case I think is a good thing because I got it so dark. I think I might as well do the same to this arm. And I think I'll do the same to the majority of his face too. Just help smooth that texture a little bit more. Make it a little bit more soft. I'm just playing around with it at this point. And I'm going to take a light tan, going over those shadows. I really like the finish of this a little bit better. Using a pencil to blend it in. Using quite a bit of pressure just to really fill in those gaps. Here we have a new challenge. So we got the skin done. We gotta get the hair done. I like to try to get all the natural stuff done. And then we can do like the shirt and the chickens next, and then the background. There's one section at a time, but I think I'm really liking this. It's not perfect, but it looks really nice on camera, I have to say. Okay, let's put these pencils back and start afresh. So we can move on to the next. I like to try to keep my pencils organized so I can find them pretty easy. So I like to have the vivid colors organized mostly, and the rest of them, I don't have to worry too much about having those organized. Very particular. At least they're like, they don't have to be in the exact same order, but I want them to be in the general same place, same space. Hasn't been an hour since I filmed. This is gonna be fun. Okay, now we need to figure out which angle I will start filming the process for a advertisement and tutorial. It's pretty quiet. There's still people in this house. It's very quiet. Okay. Man, that looks really nice on camera. Okay, let's put it on the very wide view so I can get most of it. I'm gonna move the tablet that's got TikTok on it. Remove the cords so it looks nice and clean. And there I go. So I'm gonna film for about 5 minutes. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the lightest part of his hair and compare it to the reference, like the colors swatches. So the lightest part of his hair is definitely a cream, a very light cream color. I'm going to erase. I'm going to erase that graphite all the way around his head. And then I'm going to zoom into his hair. So you get all of that all at once and use that cream color. We're going to do circular motions, light pressure, all in the areas where all of it, like pretty much every area. And I know it's not going to see, you're not going to see much change right away, but there's no white. I don't see any white in his hair. So we're going to fill this all in with this light yellow, very pale pastel, cream colored. And we're going to use the same method for preserving some of the hairs by doing indents into the paper. I apologize for the editors that you're not seeing much right now. I apologize for you guys. Now I'm going to go over it with a darker shade of the same color. Just filling in that area. I think there's going to be one more color I'd like to add before I start indenting the paper. You only want to indent the paper for certain reasons. And then I think I see a bit of some tan, very light tan in some areas as well. Only in the areas that I kind of see it. That's where I'm going to put it. Not all over the place. Very light pressure again. Okay. So we're going to do another hour. Now I think there is a better way to preserve the hair, but I don't really want this section to be all lonesome. I'm going to add, you can still color in these little indents to make them a little bit darker if you need to. Just use a sharp pencil. But I am going to, I think I'm going to still do a few indents so that these ones right here aren't all by themselves and they look off or whatever. So I'm going to select a few that really stand out to me for preserving. And let's start right in this section. We'll do a few. I'm going to turn off the strobe. Turn down the opacity until we can just barely see the tip of the pencil, or not the pencil, the pen. And essentially what we're doing is we're making indents in the paper. We want to have a pen that is not, doesn't have any ink. So I pulled out the ink thing and then I just scribbled on it forever. I don't know if you guys can see this. Yeah, yes, you guys can see this. So I did a bunch of scribbling right here. I'm going to show you with a darker pencil. If you go over it, especially using the side of the pencil, all those scribbles just stay white. So that's the idea of what I'm doing. Now we can like change it up and go, hey, let's do, like, you don't have to do just white preserving. And this is why we did like the base colors. You can go in with like a blue, do some scribbling, and then go over it again. And then those lines are now blue instead of white. So you can play around with it. This will be good for some really fine textures, patterns on shirts, hair, fur, whiskers, catch lights on the eyes. So I'm going to put these colors away. We're going to take that pen and we're going to get some of those really lonesome hairs and we're going to just push into the page. I'm doing a few of them. We're going to move into another section. And still the same thing, push right into the page, indenting it. We're purposely gouging the paper. We don't have to get exact placements correct. Nobody's going to know, but I am going to use it as a guideline. Moving on to the next section. And this will only work on thick paper. This is not going to work on any other paper. No printer paper, nothing. But you gotta do it on thick paper. Otherwise, it just doesn't do it. There is a name for this technique. I just can't remember what it is. So I think that's good enough to kind of make it look like, why does it still look blue? Oh, whatever. It's probably because the very sides of this pen has still got ink on it. That's why I scribble every time, but for some reason, no matter how many times I use this pen, it's still got a little bit of blue. Nobody's gonna see it. It's gonna be disappeared. It's gonna disappear. Okay, now let's move on. I'm going to zoom out and kind of focus on one section at a time, turning on that strobe again. I'm going to start off using the color that's closest to the lightest part of his hair. So it's either going to be in its yellows or its browns or a mixture. Tans. So I see tan, I see cream colored, I see a little bit of that orange brown. So let's start with the cream colored. And I'm just doing circular motions right now, just to fill in. This is pretty much like the background of the hair, and we can add texture to it by adding the darker ones in as lines, but we can just start off with doing circular motions. I find hair is really challenging. So yeah, be patient with yourself. And we're going to keep the colors that we're using off to the side so that it's consistent throughout the entire hair. So it looks like it's part of the same person. And then we're going to use that tan color. I think I might go with the darker tan. Just light pressure and circular motions. We're not worried about getting the texture down. We're just getting the base of the color, the lightest colors we see. And then we can add texture over top of it. And we also don't need to get this super dark right away because the texture that we add on top will create those shadows as well. They don't have to be tight circular motions, and they can kind of just go along with the hair direction as well if you want to. Might help with the texture building. Now I'm going to go in with that nice warm brown color. This is mostly in the shadowy areas. Kind of ombre effect that's going from this nice warm brown to the tan to the cream colored yellow. So we're not worried about being perfectly placed for these colors quite yet. We just want to place it down and use the reference as a guidance, not as a must-do. Now that we got that down, we can start building up texture. So let's see what colors. Let's try to pick out all the colors that we need for this. So kind of this, I think it's this one right here. This one. And pretty much all of the tans, all of the browns. Some cream colored. There is a slight light blue in some areas, not a lot. And there's a little bit of dark green too. I'm going to zoom in into smaller sections, smaller than what we just did. And then I'm going to start off with, the lightest color in that area. And we're going to start doing short little strokes. Right where those really bright areas are, that's where we're putting it down. And make sure you pick up the pencil every time you make a stroke, so this zigzags make it look weird. And we're going into the next color that we see. Small little individual strokes. Every time you put one down, you pick it up. You don't have to get the placement exactly. Just kind of use the reference as a guideline. We're not going to trace every individual hair where you're going to make it look like we did. And we're going to use that light brown. Just very light pressure. Charity Low, top viewers, streambow.com. Please don't try to advertise to me. I am going to just build up my audience slowly and naturally. I want to have real followers. So pick up that pencil every time you make a stroke. Follow the direction of the hair. And take that orange color. Now that I kind of have the idea of the placement of things, I can focus more on the reference that's printed off, not the one that's on the app. Okay, I know it doesn't look very realistic right now. We are still building it up. I'm going to move over. Starting off with the lightest color I see. Just doing individual strokes, following the direction of the hair, following the curvature. You don't want straight little hairs if they're not straight. And then also no zigzagging. Do not zigzag. It's one of the worst things you can do for realistic hair is zigzag. I will disown you. Just kidding. Going into the next color that I see in that area. There's not a lot of it, but I am still going to add it. That tan. And then the next color. I like how his hair just slowly, gradually gets from dark to light from the roots to the tips of the hair. It's really pretty. I love his hair. And I don't understand how he's a blonde, because I'm not a blonde. His father's not a blonde. Okay, let's go in with a little bit darker. Just in a few spots, not a lot. Drawing blonde hair is very difficult to do. And then now let's reverse it. Using the reference that's printed off as a guide to kind of build up a little bit more color. And let's move on. Starting off with the lightest color we see. I'm starting to get hungry. I haven't really had a breakfast today. I'm running off of coffee. I don't know why, but I just haven't been feeling breakfast lately. Let's go straight into lunch. So with that bright color, remember, always pick up the pencil every time you make a stroke. This is actually where like the little bit of blue kind of pops up too. So I think I might do a light layer of that blue in the entire area. It's not a lot, just a little. I know, blue is such a weird color to be using on hair, unless if it's dyed blue. I'm gonna sneeze. Oh. So the next color we are going to use, a little darker. Now for this really short hair, do even smaller strokes, using the reference as a guideline for those darker hairs. Keep those pencils nice and sharp. Following both the direction and the curve of the hair. You don't want to have nice straight, don't do straight hair. Make sure it's slightly curved where it needs to be curved. And then going into an even darker color. I have 3 different browns that I have in my pencil set. They're different, but they look exactly the same when it's on the paper. It's really kind of interesting that they did that. So pick up the pencil every time you place down a stroke. No zigzagging. Do not zigzag. Do I see some of that warm brown in here somewhere? Maybe any warm brown in the last section we did? Kind of using it as like a transition color between the tan and the darker brown. And moving on to the next section, starting off with the lightest color we see. Using the reference as a guideline, we don't have to get exactly the way that we see it on there. It's just for the general placement. Make sure you pick up the pencil every time you make a stroke. Going into the next color. Just really following the direction of the movement of the hair. So I kind of pondered about something. So there's a lot of artists out there that, or not even artists, but just a lot of people out there that think tracing's cheating. And then it also like makes the drawing less impressive if you find out that it's cheating. Well, here's the thing that I think. So magicians are really fascinating trying to figure out how they do it. You know they're doing something. There's some kind of trick to it. If a magician is really good, well, if a magician is not so good and then finding out how they do that, you're not as impressed as you were before. But if you get a really good magician and you know how it's done, you still really think it's amazing because you wouldn't be able to pull off that trick at all, even knowing how to do it. So if you get a good, like if you get a new artist tracing, and you find out that they trace, it's not going to be as impressive, but it doesn't matter. They're starting, they're learning, and they will get better the more they do. But if you find an artist that is really good at their work and you find out they're tracing, if you know and you that you can't do it as good as them even with tracing, it's still fascinating. There are hyper realistic artists out there that trace, and I think even though that they trace, and I know I'm a tracer too, but even though that they trace, their work is so stunning that it takes a lot more effort than just tracing. It takes a lot of skills and knowledge of how to create certain textures. So to you might think my drawings are mediocre, and tracing, you're like, it's not as impressive as it used to be. But if you go and look at those hyper-realistic artists that trace, you'd be still amazed by it because you can't do that, even with all the tools that they use. I grew up in a family, like my grandfather was a magician, and I knew a lot of his tricks, not all of them, but I knew quite a few on how they were done. But it's still amazing to me on how smooth the sleight of hand was, even though I knew what was going on. The magic didn't die with the knowledge that I have of how he did it. So we're just slowly building up, one line at a time, using the reference on the app as just a guideline for where to put all these lines, the texture and stuff. Trying to follow the direction of the hair. His hair is so crazy. It's all over the place. So we are going to add more to it later. We're still in the working progress of this, but we're just trying to get the placements down, the directions, the texture. It's just going to take a lot of layers to get it to a photorealistic standard. Moving on, I'm going to zoom out so I can see a larger section of it. And we're going to build up the base colors using the lightest colors we can find that we can see. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're just doing light pressure and circular motions just to kind of fill in the general areas of those lighter sections of the hair. Just get a nice solid base for what we're doing. I'm going into a darker color. This one's a bit of a tan color. Still the same thing, just for the base of something. And we're going to try to stick in this general area in which we see this color. We're not going to go everywhere. This is kind of building up the structure of the hair. And then we're going in to some of the darkest areas and filling them in. Not worried about the tiny little sections of those shadows, just right where you see them, pretty much the entire area with that kind of color, that shade. Okay, now we can kind of build up the texture. I'm almost done for today. Okay, so let's start with the lightest colors we see. We're just going to do individual strokes to create the texture. Make sure you're following the direction of the hair. Also picking up the pencil every time you make a stroke. And then you can even go over top of where those darker hairs are, because this is the under layer. The dark's gonna lay on top of this pretty easily. I'm going into a darker color. It's very light pressure. If you want it, like if it's a bigger area, add more strokes. If you want it darker, just add a little bit more pressure. We're just slowly building it up, following the direction of the hair. So it's okay if we're going in the different direction over top of those really dark areas with the lighter colors, because it's just gonna disappear anyways. And then even darker colors. Now we're starting to get those hairs that are just going over top of some other hairs, but going in a different direction. So we can add those. This hair is really wild. And again, don't forget to pick up the pencil every time you make a stroke. Work on following the direction of the hair. Make sure you get the right curvature of the hair. There's a lot of different things to be aware of when drawing hair. Honestly, I think this is probably one of the most challenging drawings I've done for hair. So I'm really taking my time and really thinking about the placement of everything. Okay, I think we're good for that section for now. We can move on to the next. There is an undertone of a blue, so I'm going to add that now, just very lightly. Very, very lightly. I'm doing circular motions and light pressure using the side of the pencil. So I get a nice, soft, smooth blue on there. You might not see blue when you're looking at your reference photo, and that's okay. You'll eventually, like the more you work on this kind of stuff, the more you'll start seeing the undertones, and you might be able to actually see like color theory in play. Starting off with the lightest color that you see. Right now I'm just doing circular motions just to get a nice base to the hair, so we don't have any white spots, because there's not any white spots. There's very light yellow, cream colors, but we want to build a nice base. Then going into the next, there is a bit of a skin tone right above his ear. I think that's just a little bald spot. Not really a bald spot, but that's actually his skin. You can see it poking right through his hair. So we're going to add that little spot there, doing nice tight circular motions, holding the pencil at the end so that you can use the side of the pencil. Helps with pressure control and creating a nice smooth texture. Am I done yet? I don't know. I'm just building up the base color so that we don't have to try to do lines all over the place for the hair because it's already colored in. And there's a lot of skin tone in here. Oh no, I got something in my eye. I'm gonna fill that all in with the skin tone. It's gonna be a very soft transition between his hair and his skin. And then a very light layer in some of the darker sections of this brown. Very, very light. Okay. So we're going to start off with the lightest color. Now we're building up texture. Doing small individual strokes, especially in this section. We want to do them really small so that it looks like it's a buzz cut. Very small. Individual strokes, making sure you pick up every time you make a stroke on the paper. You do them slightly longer strokes up top, but around the side of his hair, it's very side of his head, it's very short. Going in with the next color that we see. Again, very tiny strokes. We're using the app for an idea for placement and quantity of the color. Remember, pick up the pencil every time. We don't want to do any zigzagging. We want to have individual hairs that are not really connected to each other. Hello. Cheese slices. Okay. Bye. Okay. So here we left off at, I can move this out of the way. Yes, it will realign. I just wanted to show you what it looks like. See, look at this. This is what's really cool about this app, is that I can put the phone away and then I can bring it back and everything is aligned. Look at that. It's magic. It's so cool. I love it. Anyways, if you don't have the app and you would like to try it for free for an entire year, just send me a message. This is for iOS, by the way, not the app, not the full, like this version of the app on iOS. I have promo codes so you could try it for free for a year. So send me a message. You can send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, maybe TikTok. I think you can do it on TikTok. Android is actually currently free because they just dropped their new version of it. They want people to use the app and give honest reviews in the Play Store. So it's free. There are a few ads for certain features, just to let you know. If you want me to do a commission for you, just send me a message. There are many different tiers of payment. I work for the app that I'm using, so if I can make it for live lessons on their YouTube channel, I can give you an 11 by 14 inch drawing for free in color or black and white pencil, and those are for portraits that I do those. And then if you allow me to make them into advertisements and tutorials for the app, I will give you 65% off. If it is 100% a private drawing, the prices are based off of how much I get for making ads and tutorials for the Vinci Eye App and how many hours it takes me to do a piece. The reasoning for that is I only have a set amount of hours to work on anything art related. So yeah, I won't have any extra time to do your piece on the side. I'd have to cut into my work. And then you won't just see portrait art from me. With my work, I do many different things. I do wood burning, stained glass painting, quilling, fabric painting, window paintings, a few murals. I've used soft pastel, charcoal, watercolor, acrylic, pen, markers. Yeah, and I will be learning a lot more because I in the job of making things interesting and fun to learn, and also giving you ideas on what you can do with the app. So the app, another thing that I've done with the app that I didn't mention is cookie decorating. It's really fun. So this app is versatile for many things. For window paintings and murals, though, they have like a sister app called Mural Maker. So that's what I use for those things. But yeah, if you want a commission, just send me a message. If you want to actually draw with me in real time from beginning to end, join the Vinci Eye App's YouTube channel and come watch me live Friday from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. So that's me in a nutshell. You'll see a bunch of random different stuff here on my personal. This is all behind the scenes of how I make these ads. So yeah, but my passion is portrait work. I love doing portraits of people and pets. I just like capturing the joy, the pure joy in people's faces and animals and stuff. So, and also seeing the joy of these people who order from me and looking at the piece of artwork that I created for them. But you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you maybe tomorrow if you join the YouTube channel, the Vinci Eye App, or Monday for my current stuff. And then I'm also, just so you know, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok.